it was probably shock in the beginning of this pandemic that may have slowed the process down of us actually processing what it is that's going on. And I think there's a lot of truth with that. And when shock comes into play, I know for myself, and just even thinking of the way I've handled some of my crisis situations in the past, when shock was a value to it, there was also that numbing factor, going into that survival mode and just numbing yourself and not feeling, just doing and getting through your day. A survival mode, right? And I feel that if we were to assess where we were in the pandemic over the last maybe now it's more than 2 years, the beginning factor was that shock, that numbing process that we were going through, the trying to grasp the reality of what we were in and trying to see how that was going to affect our future, the future that we were predicting for ourselves. Because I think that's another element, that we are even more unpredictable with where and how we're going than we were in the past. And so I think that also caused us to, blur, to step back, to numb, to stop, not to think. And here's the difference of where we were then to where we are now. And that is where the numbing effect is starting to wear off. The reality is setting in. And I think of an analogy with this one for me is when we first started to go through this pandemic, it was like a tornado. The twisters are coming through. It is stirring shit up. It is picking up all of our livelihood, everything that we've worked to put together up until this point in our life. And it is just stirring it all up, threatening to take it away with the storm. And what we're dealing with right now is the after effect. So now that the cyclone has stopped, maybe moved on, now all the shit of ours that was sucked up into that has been dropped and let go. And it has dropped in your neighbor's backyard, and has dropped 3 streets down. It has dropped where you're working. All of our personal effects and belongings and everything that we've been working towards has just been scattered and is now debris all over. And now we're having to pick up the pieces, see what has been damaged, what's missing, where do we go from here, what things do we want to collect back. You're out now and more exposed and vulnerable. And I know we're not probably quite out of the storm, but this is the effect that we're starting to feel as we're starting to maybe feel some normalcy in our lives, or what normal may be for the next foreseeable future. We're also now having to pick up all of our personal belongings and understand a little bit more about where they are in our lives, and do they take place and space in our lives now, or don't they? And this is also with people in our lives. Everything's been sucked up in this storm, and as we've been going through our own grieving process and our own processes of survival, or if you are one to numb or have been in the past, we're starting to feel the weight of our situation. And this is where those really deep, very emotionally connected conversations that I'm having right now. Some of us are not in a good place, and I'm not sure if you are or not, but I will make sure that in the show notes, there is a link to a whole whack of different free supports of different organizations, non-for-profits, that you may be able to find some support with should you need it. Now, perhaps too, There could be someone else in your life that's also needing this. So I encourage you to check it out and share it too. But in the meantime, as you and I are here in this conversation, where do we go from here? What is it that you need for yourself right now?